the inauguration of Donald Trump is happening on Monday, and the BBC was very excited this morning to find out that Donald Trump and JD Vance's official portraits have been released. So let's just have a scroll through this page, and you can see that Trump's portrait is pretty dark looking. The BBC is very excited about that. Vance's portrait, on the other hand, is very bright and he's standing up straight and whatnot. But they were very excited about Trump's portrait because they're saying it looked very similar to the portrait or the photograph that was taken when he was arrested, if you remember, and they're quite happy to show the mugshot, as they call it, from Fulton County Jail there, and they're comparing and contrasting it to the photograph that the official photograph that he took when he was in his first term. Well, Mark, let me welcome you to the program at this point and say, it seems pretty clear to me that Trump is trolling the world with that photograph because, of course, he is making a point specifically about the arrest and the prosecutions and so on. It's not by accident that he's produced that photograph in that style.
That is one interpretation of it. Yes, Mike. Good day, everyone. He could be using that photo to say, I told you so. I'm going to skirt these flimsy charges that came up in court. Of course, it's worth mentioning, at least in passing, that the so-called mugshot didn't have the normal number next to the suspect, that sort of thing. A very unconventional mugshot, to say the least. I've heard some people even say that's not a mugshot at all, but it's some sort of, misdirection or some sort of fakery going on there. That being said, certainly his first photo was a lot more respectable, but it is a strange situation in that regard with that new photograph, no doubt about it. Now, we can segue right into the inauguration if you want, Mike, itself. I think you only wanted to show those photos, correct?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, well, this is something of a last minute thing. I was working on other matters and then it hit me. Oh my gosh, the inauguration is not the following Monday. It's this coming Monday. Time flies. And so I scrambled last night and even early this morning, right before the show, to get a little bit more information together. This slide that I sent in is from Politico, who's been invited. The world's far-right populists packed the guest list for Trump's inauguration. I looked at a Politico article and then later a Time magazine article. And Time magazine couldn't help but repeat the unsubstantiated and really untrue barb against Trump that he tried to overturn the 2020 election. And when in fact he felt it already had been overturned, and he was trying to ferret out any fraud that might have happened. But anyway, according to Politico, you do have a more right-leaning list in terms of those that have been invited or are attending anyway. The German far-right member of the Alternative for Germany party, Tino Schruppala, that's gotten a lot of headlines. I don't know much about him. He's attending. The press is pretty upset about that one, acting almost as if Hitler himself has been resurrected to come to the inauguration. Elon Musk apparently endorsed Tino Schruppala. The Indian and Japan foreign ministers are coming. No big news there. There's a lot of headlines and a lot of ink being printed here. The tech moguls, Elon Musk, of course, Jeff Bezos, owner of the Washington Post, founder of Amazon, Mark Zuckerberg, Xavier Niel, a right-leaning French billionaire, of course, Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, your favorite, Mike, Nigel Farage, of course, is invited. They're calling him a arch Brexiteer. Another is Santiago Abascal, a Spanish ultra-right nationalist, we're told, from the Vox party, but he also represents the European Patriot Party, which in the European Parliament represents 11 countries. There are 86 MEPs in the European Parliament from the European Patriots Party. Oddly, Marie Le Pen and her protege, Jordan Bardella, out of France, of course, and they, of course, are right leaning in their ideology. They apparently were not invited. That's not confirmed, though. Apparently not invited. There are others. Viktor Orban, the definitely right wing leader of Hungary, was invited but reportedly cannot attend. China's leader, Xi, um, apparently was invited but cannot attend, but he's sending some emissaries. Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission president, was not invited. She apparently was snubbed in this. Another, Andre Ventura from the Chega party. That's a far right party, we're told, in Portugal. But the one of the big things, Mike, is Bibi Netanyahu, and this is according to the Times of Israel itself, along with other sources. He apparently did not receive an invitation. The Times of Israel is trying to say, well, maybe he was informally invited, and they're also saying he's undergoing prostate surgery and cannot attend. I'm not sure about that in terms of the timing. Maybe they're using that more as an excuse. Um, they're also saying, even in the Times of Israel, that Bibi's arrest is being sought by the ICC. And that's another reason he doesn't want to leave Israel. And that's, again, the Times of Israel admitting that. So that's some of the highlights, Mike. I was at the first inauguration, and it was, of course, a pretty cold day, but it's quite the pomp and circumstance event. Um, this one's going to be really crowded, that's for sure, given all the controversy. Obama, Bush Jr., some call him Bush the Dimmer, and Bill Clinton apparently will attend, although my wife had heard they won't attend, so that's not altogether clear. But with the time permitted, Mike, that's sort of an overview of some of who's going and some of who is not going.
But of course, Mark, if you've got some kind of assassination planned or some other kind of event like that, of course, some of these world leaders wouldn't want to be attending, would they?
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard that Washington, D.C. is a definite police state. It was definitely that way when I went back in 2016 or early 2017, but I've heard now that it's much more of a police state. It's interesting to note, back in 2010, I attended a Swiss event where the president at that time, they operate on a rotating presidency, and they come into this town called Sion in Switzerland, and I happened to attend that, and there was it was very noticeable that there were virtually no troops around whatsoever. It was the furthest thing from a police state you could imagine in Switzerland back in 2010. It was pretty interesting and surprising to see in that regard, although I'm sure there were a few hidden snipers perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is interesting. The press is pretty worried that Trump is bringing in not just a right-wing government himself, but a right-wing coalition around the world. That's what the press is fuming about.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, if you like what the UK column does, you would like to support us, please go to support.ukcolumn.org. There are options to help us out there. You can make a donation, join as a member. If you do join as a member, you can get access to UK Column News Extra and other content. You could pick something up at the shop, helps us a great deal as well, or from clive2carl.com, and we get a small percentage of anything that's bought there. If you can't do that, please at least share material that you find from us as much as possible. The share links are on the various pages for videos and written articles and so on. So